Good afternoon, Squamish Advisory Design Panel. We're here for Thursday, July 16th to look at Development Permit 635. To start with, I'd like to welcome everyone and acknowledge that we are on Squamish Nation traditional territory today. And second, I would like to adopt the agenda. Could somebody recommend that we adopt the agenda for today? I see Michael and I see Sarah. Thank you. And next, I guess I'm going to just make up a new agenda item and ask Director of Planning, Jesse Fletcher, to introduce the new Manager of Planning for Development Planning.
Thank you, John. What is your name? Hello, everyone. Jesse Fletcher, Acting Director of Community Development for the next year. We are doing a bit of chair shuffling. And so for the next year, Robin Hay, who's sitting in the horseshoe right now, will be the Acting Manager of Current Planning and will be the liaison for the committee. So expect to see her for a while. And thank you all for joining us today.
Awesome. Thanks, Jesse. And nice to see Shora, Sarah, and Jordan online. I've been asked to remind you to keep your cameras on during the meeting. Awesome. Okay. So first order of business here, we need to adopt the minutes from the last advisory design panel meeting, which was on May 21st. Could I have someone make a motion on that? I see Sarah, Jordan are all in favor of the minutes. Any questions? All in favor? Okay, looks like that is good. So we can move on to Development Permit 635, and I'll ask Bryan Daly, the planner, to introduce this one.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Advisory Design Panel. My name is Bryan Daly, planner with Community Development. Today we are looking at DP 635, which is seeking to establish the form and character of 26 townhomes at 40279 Government Road. The property is currently vacant. It was formerly developed with a single unit dwelling that was destroyed by fire. It's a unique property in that it is a hooked parcel with 1.49 hectares on the west side of the CN rail line and 0.58 hectares on the eastern side fronting Government Road. The 0.58 hectare parcel fronting Government Road is where the development is proposed. There's no development proposed on the western side of the CN rail line. The application meets the requirements of the RM2 zone. And with that, I will pass it over to the architect team who is joining us online today.
Thank you very much. My name is Stéphane Leroy. I'm an architect and urban planner and principal at SLA. And I'm joined by Elizabeth Chong, who is an intern architect in our office. And I'm joined in person by
Julian Custom, considered design landscape architect.
Thank you all very much for being here today. So I'm here to speak about 40279 Government Road. The site is located on Government Road, as it turns out, on the north end.
Sorry, Stéphane, we can't see your screen, so if you wouldn't mind sharing the presentation, that'd be great.
Oh, it stopped sharing. My apologies. This was the cover, and this is everyone can see that okay?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. The location is on Government Road, and it is split into an east and west side. The east side is the site that we're going to speak about today, and the west side, which I'll expand on a little bit later, is being given to the district. The neighborhood is the Manquam neighborhood, surrounded by single-family homes, townhomes, restaurants, grocery stores, actually a very well-serviced area. The project proposes low-carbon, all-electric project, meeting step code 3. There's 26 townhomes with a range of 2- and 3-bedroom units, and 9 of them are allocated to be aging-in-place units. All the units have private backyards and a patio. We meet the parking requirements of the bylaw. There is a toddler play area and adventure play area, and we have a covered communal amenity area with accessible seating. We are proposing a multifunctional internal street, or what we refer to as a WINRF, which I'll expand upon in a few minutes. We follow the Fire Smart guidelines, and we've retained the SPEA areas. And as I will get into in a moment, we've also added to that SPEA area. And I mentioned that we've donated the west side of the site to the district. The site is within a pretty reasonable distance of many schools and also preschools, but the most adjacent is the Mamquam Elementary School, which is across the street from the site. The site has access to bus routes and pedestrian paths, including access over the 99. And there's a number of trails as well along the river. The frontage along Government Road will include a road dedication. I understand that this will help the district. Not only are we providing a sidewalk, but also some additional width for the bike paths that pass along there. I mentioned that the west side of the site is being donated. It's obviously quite difficult to access across the rail, but it will help preserve the native plants and animals, as well as the ecology that there is there today. I also mentioned access to the pedestrian bridge across 99, and a crosswalk is just north of our site, existing crosswalk that allows access to the school here. The site includes two SPEA areas, one adjacent to the rail corridor and one in the middle of the site. And we've elected to connect these two areas to add some additional SPEA area. And so it turns out it's approximately 10% of this eastern site area. And of course, we've donated the entire west side as well. We are providing setbacks around the perimeter of the site. We're providing a 7.62 meter front yard setback beyond the road dedication, 4.57 on the sides. And we're also providing a 10 meter voluntary noise setback along the rear to aim to minimize the rail corridor noise, bearing in mind that we understand the rail corridor is very infrequently used and potentially being decommissioned. Site circulation is very straightforward. There's direct access from Government Road, and the site rises just slightly. The main access is, when I'll expand on it in a few minutes, Woonurf concept. So it's a multi-use area that allows for child play as well as vehicular circulation. We've actually, I'll talk about the accessible parking stalls in a moment, but we have visitor stalls at the end of the site as well as in the center. Actually, there's also one tucked in here, as it turns out. We are providing, as I mentioned, private garden areas for every unit, a covered communal amenity area centrally located, as well as a toddler play area that's centrally located. And then over to the east, northeast, I guess it would be, an adventure play area. In terms of the massing, a critical design element was addressing Government Road. So we ensured to design a front elevation that faced Government Road. I can catch up to my notes here. We were very conscious in avoiding long linear blocks. So we broke up the length of the buildings into different elements, and it allowed us to also introduce a range of unit types and unit sizes. Also, very subtle, we also added a bit of a setback here and moved this part of the building out a little bit, again, just to create some variety along the muse. I guess one other massing element I would like to mention is the asymmetrical roof profile. It creates a little bit of playfulness and a bit of differentiation. We like to focus on natural materials, and we provided a variety of colors that I'll talk about in a moment. So to expand on the site plan itself, site access I mentioned comes from Government Road. We are providing a sidewalk along the frontage, and there's also a bike lane. A better located bike lane would be what I should say. There's some Class B parking stalls right here at the entrance, and Julian will expand on the landscape design in terms of the play areas as well as the communal amenity area here, covered area. The Muse is envisioned to be a bit like Granville Island is actually where it started here. But in Europe, Wunnerf is a shared space, one in which both cars and pedestrians are equal. And therefore, cars have a tendency to slow down significantly. And same with pedestrians, they tend to be more aware of vehicles that are entering or are moving through a Wunnerf space. I mentioned the rail corridor here at the rear and our voluntary 10-meter setback from that. And I just want to identify the SPA areas here are fully sequestered is maybe a strong word, but preserved, fully preserved along the north edge of the site. In terms of site accessibility, we mentioned that there is an accessible seating provided as part of the covered communal amenity area. We consciously chose to locate the accessible stalls, university accessible stalls, one in the center and two at the end. So there was a way to differentiate or minimize the travel distance for wheelchairs. I think I've already spoken about the Wunnerf. One of the constraints that we have on this site is the flood control level, which requires that the habitable space be located above that flood level, which obviously this lower level has to be able to withstand flooding, and up until the flood control elevation is a concrete structure. So this requires staircases to get up and into the residential unit above. All our parking is located on the ground level. So we chose to, and we'll resolve this in the next phase in our building permit drawings, but we would like to accommodate a home lift in up to 9 of the units. This would help allow for aging in place in the units. And what we're going to do is locate an area of the floor plan where one can install a lift at a later date. In this particular location, it does affect this parking stall, but what it does do is, as it turns out, is it provides fairly spacious access between the vehicle that would be parked here and the home lift itself. I apologize that the screen probably over darkens this rendering. It certainly is on our screen. But we're trying to indicate the color range of the units themselves. And again, I'll show the next slide in a moment for better color accuracy. These two are meant to be blue. Like this. That still looks a little bit dark, but generally speaking, we are proposing wood cladding at the base adjacent to the entries. We are proposing a navy, a gray, and an off-white board and batten type patterning. And then we have some black paneling that helps interconnect some of the masked out elements. So it's a little trim piece that extends out around the windows and helps create some visual interest along the elevation. The entrances themselves are differentiated from each other. One, in a fairly self-evident way, is to simply choose a different color for the door. But we put quite a bit of thought into the numbering, where the light fixtures are located, and making sure that the number is both visible as you enter the site down the length of the Wunnerf, but also as you are facing the unit itself, there's also an opportunity to read the number while facing the unit. And this light will help provide that at night, that visibility at night. This indicates the type of color range that we're looking at using and the patterning that we're proposing to create, again, some additional visual interest and some playfulness. You can note the asymmetrical roof profiles, which is unique. And it's maybe a bit difficult to see it on the elevations, but we do have a pronounced a metal window trim around these living room windows. This is the elevation facing Government Road, which we spent some time making sure it felt and looked that it was addressing and facing Government Road. It was not, in other words, the back of a townhome. And now I'll pass it on to Julian.
Thanks, Stefan. So the landscape architecture really focuses on the provision of program associated with residential use. Design integrates a series of passive and active outdoor spaces intended to create a livable, inclusive, and communal amenities suitable for all ages and abilities. Stefan's already talked about the VUNAF, and that forms the main Y-shaped axis that organizes the site and helps define the non-vehicular zones from toddler and adventure play. We also have quieter passive seating areas and central communal courtyard, central communal covered seating area, not courtyard, that announces the entry to the development with a playful shade sail structure that acknowledges Squamish's daily inflow and outflow wind patterns. Natural materials such as logs and boulders encourage risky play and sit comfortably in the broader context of the Squamish landscape. Tree and shrub planting helps to define and animate the site throughout, providing a seasonally variable cadence and ties the architecture back to the larger Squamish landscape. Importantly, a non-combustible fire-smart zone surrounds each building block, which also doubles as secondary and private circulation space, and the additional permeable gravel surfaces provide important stormwater detention on site. The allowable areas of shrub and tree planting contribute to biodiversity by attracting pollinators and insects. That's it from us.
See you in the next slide.
Yeah, these are just some precedents of the types of planting, the play structures, the shade sails, and the VUNAF concept that you can see there on the bottom left-hand side.
Okay. That concludes our presentation.
Thank you for the presentation. That's great. So now for the panel, we'll have our typical process of an opportunity to ask questions of the presenters, and then a second round of providing comments. A quick reminder, for the design panel, we are expected to be looking at and considering the development permit area guidelines, which were attached to the report we were presented with, and give us a framework for our questions and comments. We've also in the report been asked to look at and comment on the site plan, including layout, circulation, and accessibility, the architectural design, including building form, massing, facades, articulation, street orientation, roof lines, and usable outdoor area, the building materials and finish, such as color, texture, and detail, and the landscape plan. So for questions, maybe I'll start online with Sarah. Do you have any questions for the presenters?
Sure, I wasn't quite prepared for that, but yeah, let's jump in. So I didn't see it in the package of which units you're proposing to which of the 9 units you're proposing to potentially be compatible with a lift.
Sure. I think we have a little diagram, a minute little diagram. I apologize. Let me zoom in here. These, oh, come on, there. All those pink ones.
Oh,
Okay,
Stefan, remember to share that.
Oh,
you're
am
not
I-
sharing yet.
Oh, sorry. It keeps dropping that off. Sorry about that. Does that work?
Yeah, that does. Great. That gives me a bit more of an idea. Okay, and I didn't see our mailboxes going to be on site.
That's a great question. We haven't verified that with Canada Post yet.
Okay.
But good question.
Okay, that's all my questions at the moment. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. We'll go to Jordan online now with any questions for the presenters.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. A few questions. First, what is the pavement surface in the community or the covered community seating area?
Crystal patch of gravel.
Patch of gravel. Okay. So how are the dead ends managed? So if all the stalls are occupied, how would a car turn around if they decided they've gone too far or want to turn around and exit?
I mean, at the moment, if there was an empty parking stall at the end, that would make their life a lot easier. So they would be able to come in here, turn around and go. They could use this stall as well. They had
But
to
if
back
both of
up.
those stalls or all the stalls were occupied, what would they do?
Yeah, they would have to back out. Again, this is assuming all of these stalls here are also occupied.
Okay.
Then yes, then they would have to do what
a
the
lot of
fire
occupied
truck does. Yeah, it is. Yeah, but
Fair
yes.
My last question is, what makes your one different from any typical asphalt driveway that just happens to not have pedestrian circulation?
Say lack of curbs.
So lack of curbs. Okay. Is there anything else?
I mean, that's pretty much it. In terms of the surface treatment, the curbs are the main. I think if you do research into blue nerves, the one commonality that they often have is that the building forms kind of create the sense that pedestrians are going to be wandering around, but B, most importantly, the curbs don't define necessarily a road surface, and the curbs are the things that essentially, it's the one thing that Granville Island got wrong, ironically, is that they put these big yellow curbs everywhere. And that actually tells a vehicle it's okay to drive around because this is a road. But if you don't have a curb, vehicles, anybody entering the site, suddenly kind of goes, well, there's no curbs telling me that this is a road and this isn't a road. Therefore, pedestrians could be wandering around. And then inevitably that slows people down.
Did you explore any materials other than asphalt, which tends to, in my opinion, send a car dominant signal?
We did.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jordan. We'll go to Shora now with any questions.
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. The first question is about garbage area. Is that on the top right corner? That
Correct.
one, okay.
Here, yeah.
What were the thoughts and design process around? I'm assuming that some of the occupants might drive to the garbage. I'm just curious to see what was the design process around it, and thinking if there are a couple of cars there at the same time, or how would accessibility and ease of use be around it?
I mean, that's a very fair point. It's definitely not the most convenient. I think we had hoped in our initial design that there would be rolly bins in front of each unit that a garbage truck could automate and pick up and dump. But we understand that service is being maybe decommissioned is the right word in Squamish. We also, just the principle of locating a garbage facility in the middle of the site seemed counterintuitive. We'd rather have play areas and open space than a garbage facility in the middle, odors and attracting animals and so on. So, having it at least on the periphery is useful. But it's a good point that it's definitely going to be awkward for residents. Maybe they have a wheelie that they can roll down there, and maybe a little cart that they can roll down.
Yeah, I understand it's always hard to find a spot for garbage.
Yeah.
Thank you. And my next question is for Julian. I was curious about the nature of the landscaping on those front patios facing government. Are they what height, and are they creating privacy?
So we've got hedge lines to the edge of the sidewalk, essentially. So they can be trimmed up whatever height the owners, well, basically the strata wants them at. I would suggest 4 feet. That creates a sense of enclosure, but also still allows for that sense of community. So that's the primary barrier. And then you've obviously got mature trees that poke up above that with the canopy significantly higher than that at around 8 to 10 feet. And I think that's pretty much it on government. You're talking about just the private townhouses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Shora. We'll go to Michael now for questions.
Hi there. Thanks for the presentation. One question I had is, can you describe sort of what that property line interface between the adventure play and the private property to the north looks like?
It's a hedge line that runs all the way down, and then a chain link fence behind that. So the chain link is kind of hidden in the hedge. And then you've got the sound of obviously the ground plane on the play area and 3 benches.
So there's no retaining wall needed at that property line? It meets grade?
Good question.
There is a retaining.
Oh, there is a retaining.
Yes.
Yeah. So
There
it
is.
does have a bit of retaining. Yeah.
So would the view from the private property to the north just be of retaining wall and chain link fence, or would that be
You're
screened
not going
by
to see the
the
chain link
shrubs?
because the chain link will disappear into the shrub planting. So all you'll see basically, the chain link's just there for enclosure, pets and children essentially. All you'll see is the hedge poking through the chain link. So the chain link's just going to disappear into the hedge line.
Okay, but initially it's chain link, then hedge, then play area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Black chain link against the hedge. You can't see it.
Okay. And how high is the retaining wall on that side?
It's over 2 feet.
Okay. But under 3?
Well, I don't know that I have the grades there, but I'm going to say it's about, I believe it won't be more than 3, but I'm not 100% sure. We have a drawing here that we provided an updated DP package, and it gives you a section that through the length of the site from government on the bottom, it's government road to the rail.
Yeah.
And then this is the cross section you're referring to. It's a little bit further back though, but you can see at the SPEA here we have 2.5 feet, I think it is.
Okay. That's at what's the slope there? That slope is through the unit's yard space, or
Yes, that's the yard. Yes.
Okay.
Drops down. Yeah.
Do you know what slope that is at?
Ooh.
I don't remember.
No.
Less than 1 in 4.
Yeah. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Okay. And then I was wondering if you could explain a little bit more how the planting palette is sort of unique to Squamish and represents sort of the native and naturalized plant material of the area.
Snowberry, Populus tremoloides, that kind of thing. I mean, it's we're very much focused on the right plant for the right place for the right use. So that's how we approach the design on the landscape architecture side of it. So seasonal variation, obviously important. Color and critically, and can't be overlooked, is the fire smart component. So really choosing things from the fire smart guidance list of plants that are allowable.
Okay, and then was any consideration given to the soil volumes provided for quercus trees
Yeah,
in some of these tighter areas?
That's our next kind of phase of work in terms of detailing, but we'll be definitely getting into that for building permit IFC. We'll be producing a topsoil plan, and that'll have the soil volumes for all the required plantings. So yeah, the Quercus palestris will fall into that.
Okay. And then another question I had is, was any consideration given to a secondary, like pedestrian focused access to the site at that northeast corner?
I think very early on.
Yeah, but
I think we ruled it out from a septet perspective. Our thinking was that one singular entrance point is the safest thing to do from a septet perspective. If you have multiple entrance points on a site, it becomes more permeable and by default less safe. So that was our thinking on the single entry.
Okay. That's all the questions I have right now. Thank you. Oh, I realized I wasn't pushing my button.
Thanks, Michael. I think they control the mics for us if it becomes problematic. So, well, okay. Thanks everybody for the questions. So we'll go through comments now. It's our opportunity to make comments. I'll try and summarize them so that there's a list for the planner and for the design team at the end to work with. And then, of course, we will vote on our recommendation after the comments. So I'll just, if it's all right with the panel, I'll go in the same order as before with comments. So that would be starting online and starting with Sarah.
Thank you both for the presentation today. I just wanted a little bit of clarity with this optional lift. Where is it going to pop up on the third floor where the bedrooms are? Or are you just proposing that it only goes to the main floor?
No, it goes all the way up through. On the third floor, it comes into the primary bedroom right now, but we think we need to tweak the floor plan just slightly.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
not
I would recommend that. Otherwise, you might be losing a closet there.
Yes.
So my further comment to that would be, is that one of the washrooms, or if there is only one, no, I think all of them have two washrooms, is that the people who are going to be in those 9 units that would potentially have the lifts in them, that one of those washrooms have a wheel-in shower, so trench drain into the shower, and then you can kind of make do with the lack of space if you've got that extra space that could be used in the shower to potentially transfer more easily to the toilet. On the main floor washroom, I would encourage you to put a pocket door. I think for people who are larger, it would be easier than having the door swing inwards. And just, when you're considering where the mailboxes are going to go, that obviously that they're going to be at an accessible height and easily accessible. The surface that's going to be underneath the communal table should be really well compacted. And something you might want to consider is maybe some sort of barbecue that could be shared. There might be a good community amenity. And otherwise, I commend you for thinking about aging in place in these types of buildings because they are a bit tricky, and floodplain makes it even harder. So thanks. Thanks very much.
Thank you. I have older parents, I know.
Thank you, Sarah. We'll go to Jordan with comments next.
Thank you. So there is a lot of passive lawn space and lawn space in general on this site, and kind of a marked lack of a lot of shrub planting. So I would like to see that re-examined and sort of a better balance struck with things with more habitat value and biodiversity as opposed to just lawn. My next comment is I don't think the WNRF is differentiated enough from just an asphalt driveway to kind of earn the term. And I don't think a motorist coming in there is going to get the idea that this is a shared space. Like, it's paved asphalt. There's nothing sort of suggesting a shared use such as, unit pavers, interesting markings, things like that. Like, I don't think it's all that unique, I suppose. And that's compounded by the fact that there is no sort of turnaround device at the end, like a hammerhead or something like that, at least. So if all stalls are occupied, you're going to have this shared one-hour space with cars kind of doing the 25-point turn to try to get turned around with potentially people in the road. So I don't think the site plan is resolved for that reason. So I have some concerns with how all of this is going to function, let alone with sort of a declared shared use of that driveway. So I think otherwise, like, I like the use of the covered community areas. There's a good amount of children's play provided for a site this large, but overall, I think that the site flow and function of the site should be re-examined. Thanks.
Thanks, Jordan. We'll go to Shora now with comments.
Thank you. I really appreciate the design and the presentation. I think it's very thoughtful in terms of planning and layout of the units. It's nice to see aging in place has been considered. It has a nice, playful theme to it. All of them are very positive. Couple of things that jumps out to me is I think about the entry experience of all of these units are mainly through the driveway, and I think it would just be I sort of want to see more to it. It sort of feels maybe a little bit um, more parking and driveway oriented than the actual experience of the owners and visitors. Because I think the main doors of most of these units are through the driveway. So I think some thoughts there is probably helpful. And the next thing was I was looking at the outdoor spaces, and it's really nice that all units have these balconies, which are going to be used, and they also have patios. But I was looking at covered spaces, especially from the living floor, which is the second floor of all of these, and the covered area is fairly small. I mean, it's nice to have any covered space off that floor, but maybe some more thoughts for covered outdoor spaces. But that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Shora. We'll go now to Michael with comments.
I got a few comments. I think kind of further to the site circulation, vehicle site circulation, the Wooner, for example, sort of that there's the one building at the northeast, kind of at the Y, that has like a fairly sharp 90-degree corner. And I just wonder about the visibility of both pedestrians and vehicles around that corner, especially if you have kids playing in these streets. Living in a townhome development like this, visitors and residents are aware, but visitors and delivery drivers are not, and they can come in with quite a bit of speed. So without some further differentiation or potentially site considerations at that turn, I think could be investigated more. Another with the passive seating lawn area and the adventure play area, kind of only having one point of entry and exit, I think could actually I think you could look at the SEPTED kind of both ways, like that potentially having a secondary entrance or exit could actually increase safety for people if for whatever reason feel unsafe at one entrance, or also increasing visibility. I know in our townhome complex, like bears will walk around, and if there's kids playing in the adventure playground, the bear comes around that corner and there's nowhere to get out from a secondary exit. So I think sort of how you enter and exit those two areas should be considered further as well.
Michael, just for my clarification, you're not thinking about a second vehicle entrance exit, just pedestrian, right?
Pedestrian, yeah. And then from the tree species selection, I think with the pin oak, I think there could be more diversity in the species selection to kind of accommodate some of the different soil volume available in the planting areas that are proposed, and also increase sort of the habitat diversity an ecological benefit. I know the pin oak can take a while to develop acorns, but also the bears love acorns. So that's potentially a large wildlife food source of undesirable wildlife. And yeah, I think I will leave my, this is the last comment about the wildfire protection and the alternative hedge species. I know the district has a document that suggests that the Portuguese laurel is an alternative hedge species. And while it's less invasive than English laurel, it's still considered invasive. And the District of West Vancouver has it as a preventing, like they're trying to prevent the planting of that species currently. And having that Portuguese laurel planted so close to the spia, I think maybe looking at potentially an alternate plant near these more environmentally sensitive areas would be beneficial. So yeah, another thing to consider. That's all my comments.
That's great. Thanks, Michael. I will make a quick summary of comments, and if I miss any, I'll ask the panel to help fill in the gaps, and then we'll come to make our recommendation.
Sorry, John, may I? Because
Yeah.
I've got my hand up, but I don't know if
Oh, I see
showing.
it now. Yes,
Okay.
please, Sarah.
Anyways, I just wanted to comment that of the 9 units that can potentially have these lifts, is that some additional considerations for aging in place should obviously go into them within the bathroom, so that you're having, backing for grab bars, and also that the decks are accessible. So whether or not that's a French drain, or if it's a lowered deck with a suspended deck on top to make it flush. Though being that those 9 units are sort of separate from the other ones, that could provide a little bit of differentiation as well. That would be cool. And just to think about extra outlets in the bedroom for any electric beds, task lighting, that type of thing, would be fantastic. And that's it. Thanks.
Okay, let me try and summarize. So thinking about the items that we were, the 4 items we were asked to comment on, I'll start thinking about site plan, which include layout, circulation, and accessibility. So we had some comments on the circulation, the lack of opportunity for vehicles to turn around, that maybe there is more design development that could be done to improve that. That is related as well to the concept of the internal Wooner Road. And again, maybe a little more work could be done to really lean into that through alternate paving surfaces and maybe some other design considerations. There was some concern about visibility and sight lines, particularly at the northeast corner with vehicles coming in and out. Also, a suggestion that circulation could be improved by creating a second pedestrian access egress location. Looking at accessibility, several panelists commended the designer for consideration of aging in place accommodations, including potential to retrofit with a lift. I think, with these 3-story townhomes that are so common in Squamish with so many stairs, that's a really important thing to be thinking about. To add to that, is particularly in those units that are designed to be able to accommodate the lift, additional design features should be considered, including wheel-in showers in those units, opportunity either in existence or to be retrofitted for grab bars in the washrooms, additional consideration to accessibility for the decks, extra electrical outlets in the bedrooms, pocket door in the main floor bathroom rather than a swinging door for ease of getting in and out. And then as well, just in terms of the site plan, when the mailbox design and location is finalized, consideration that it is in a accessible location and at an accessible height, and as well with the communal outdoor spaces, consideration for compact surfaces and potentially some other features such as a barbecue, and maybe some other things that could be used commonly. Comments on building design. Some thought that entry experience where every time anyone's coming into their house, they're really entering it with that driveway experience. So perhaps there's some opportunity to think about design and layout to improve the entry experience. Commendation for good outdoor balcony space, but perhaps some thought about increasing the amount of covered outdoor space for that year-round usability. A few additional comments on landscapes. So we had a few folks comment that there really appears to be some opportunity to increase the amount of variety in the landscape, so more opportunity to create habitat, to add biodiversity to the site. There's a lot of lawn, so perhaps a slightly adjusting that ratio so there's less lawn and more naturalized landscaping. Some concern that the one species selection of pin oak could become a bear attractant as a food source. Additional concern that another species, the Portuguese laurel, is known to be invasive and perhaps should not be located near the spia. So maybe some opportunity to look for a different species there. And I think that's overall the comments. Maybe the one that I would add is just again thinking about the vehicles coming in and out of the site, recognizing that it's right across the street from the elementary school, and so really hoping that some additional thought and work with traffic engineers and so on has been done to ensure just optimal safety there with vehicles. Maybe I'll just go to the panel. Did I miss any major points in my comments? Summary of comments. Okay.
Actually, I just
Michael?
wanted to clarify for that adventure play area. So I was suggesting to look at a secondary pedestrian entrance at the passive lawn seating area, but with the adventure play, like the way the garbage room is located, it creates a more narrow choke point entrance, and just that there's a secondary way or a broader entrance to that space.
So that there's sort of the access on and off the site, perhaps consideration for a second one, but then another comment about internal movement on the site in and out of the play area.
Yeah.
Okay. So two separate comments there. Okay. I'm sure that's been captured in the minutes. So as always, we're asked to make a recommendation. We have 4 options. One is to support as presented with no need for further review. The second would be support as presented, asking staff and the applicant to work to resolve the issues that the design panel identified. The third would be generally to support as presented, but request that it is brought back to the panel for a second presentation. And then the last option we have is to recommend that we do not support. Wondering if there's someone that would like to make a recommendation. Sarah, I see it. What would you like to recommend?
The second option to work with staff to overcome the issues that were identified.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Sure.
I disagree.
Okay. Sure, Jordan.
I would move 3. I'd like to see this project come back because I think there's too many issues with the site circulation to.
Yeah, fair. Okay, fair comment. So I think the first motion on the floor is Sarah's. Is there a seconder for Sarah's motion? Okay, that's seconded by Shora. And I guess what we would do is vote on that. And if it's defeated, then Jordan, we'd have opportunity for you to make a different recommendation. Does that sound right?
Is
Okay.
there discussion on the motion before it goes to a vote?
Yeah, I guess so. Absolutely. I think now that it's been seconded, this is when we get to discuss it. So maybe Sarah, since it was your motion, do you want anything that you want to add to the reason why you've made that motion?
Yeah, I mean, I think that yes, there are some circulation issues, but I trust that these guys can work that out. And so that's why I had put the second motion forward.
Okay. I see you have your hand up. Maybe I'll let Jordan speak to his reason for suggesting that we should go with a different recommendation.
Well, I think to fundamentally resolve the issues around circulation, around the character of the One Earth, it would change the design of the landscape too fundamentally that I don't think it's going to be minor adjustments through the guidance of staff that's going to resolve it. So I don't think endorsing this plan is going to result in it, looking similar enough when it comes out the other side, or I wouldn't be confident that the suggestions we've provided here have been implemented to the extent, that would satisfy the panel.
Yeah, okay. So the solutions that would be required would really fundamentally change the site plan to a significant enough degree that it really would need to be reviewed again by the design panel. Is that kind of where you're going?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Sure. I think you wanted to make a comment.
Sure. I also agree that the circulation and the site plan could use some work, but I think it just needs some softening, and I trust that the design teams and the staff can deal with that. Even there's plenty of room on the site, even to create like a turnaround at the end of one or both of the driveways. I think it is a possibility. You can push some of those visitor parking spots, further up. I do see fairly simple solutions that can mitigate a lot of these factors, and that's why I was suggesting that the design teams can work with the staff to resolve them.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for that. Michael, I haven't seen you put your hand up yet, but did you want to make any comments before we come to a vote?
Well, I'm wondering, I agree that I think that the resolving some of the circulation and access could significantly change the layout. And I'm wondering, in terms of the parking requirements, where are we with parking requirements? Are they?
They meet the parking. They do not exceed it, but they meet it.
So if two of these parking spots or a parking spot had to be removed, they would then no longer be meeting the parking requirements?
That's correct. They could apply for a, I can't remember off the top of my head, but you can reduce I believe the parking requirement by 10% through a delegated variance. So they would have the opportunity to look at that as an option that wouldn't require it going to council.
Yeah, because I'm feeling like that. I'm not sure where the space is going to be made to resolve some of the circulation issues without changing the site design.
Without either
losing parking. Mm-hmm.
Or fundamentally changing the site design.
Can the visitor
Sorry, the mic is
spots,
off.
can the visitor parkings on the left side of the site plan be pushed up further, up and down in both ways?
Oh, so you could you could make the hammerhead in front of the
Mhm.
parking.
Yeah.
I think that the fact that we're trying to charrette this on the floor of design panel
Mhm.
is evidence enough that this is going to require a complex solution. So I would again suggest that option 3 is the one we go with.
Yeah, good point, Jordan. So I think, I guess at this point, we have a motion on the floor, which is to go with recommendation 2, support as presented, and have the applicant work with staff to resolve the issues. I guess I'll suggest that, unless Sarah wants to rescind that, I would suggest that we vote on it, and then pending the outcome of that vote, that would be our recommendation, or we would have an opportunity to consider a different recommendation. Does that work with the panel? Okay, so we'll put it to vote. So the vote here is that we recommend supporting generally as presented and work with staff to resolve issues identified by the panel. I'll maybe with a show of hands, all in favor of that. Sarah, I'm going to support that. It's just that, oh, 3 of us. Okay, so I guess that resolution passes 3-2. So there you go. That's our recommendation. So I guess I would just say, in light of Jordan's compelling points about concern for the circulation, as in my role as acting chair, I would say please work hard to resolve those issues, take them seriously. And I would maybe suggest to Robin that if the solutions to the circulation concerns cause such a significant change to the site plan, it really, regardless of our recommendation, using staff judgment, perhaps it should be brought back anyways to the panel if it does cause a significant change. There you go. I think that's it for today. We don't have any more items. So I'll ask someone to move that we terminate the meeting. I see Michael, I see Sarah seconding it. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.